BooBaes.
Hi.
Hello, and welcome to
BooBaes.
BooBaes. That's right. We're your host. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we're here to talk to you about a third film. The sixth film.
Right.
But the third film.
And I wish I could call
chronologically.
I wish I could call it Chapter 3, but you can't even call it Chapter 3 because the third film in the franchise that doesn't have anything to do with this part of the saga is called Chapter 3. So that's unfortunate.
It's a little bit confusing, and
Yeah.
they had so much thought process in the other, like with connecting all of these films together. You think they could have
Connected the names a little bit better. Yeah. I agree because it does get a little muddled in the water, but we are talking about Insidious the Red Door, which is, the completing chapter to the saga that we're covering, which was Insidious 1 and 2. This movie just came out actually this year,
2023.
Yeah, so covering it new. It's streaming on Amazon Prime if you'd like to watch it. It does cost you a good $20 to watch it.
Yeah, $19.99.
But maybe give it another month and I'm sure that'll go down. But yeah, it is directed by none other than Mr. Patrick Wilson in his directorial debut, his first film he's ever directed. And he is obviously the star from the first and second installation, playing Josh Lambert. He is the patriarch, right? That's what you call him.
Yeah, the
dad of the family. And we essentially pick up 10 years after the last film, which was Insidious Chapter 2. And so, it's a lot to dive into.
Exactly where the second one ended.
Yep.
Basically.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Right. With them saying
that's true. Yeah.
How, we
want to forget the last year.
Mm-hmm. Everything from the last year, blah, 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 which was a nice little recap in the event that you hadn't watched the second one immediately before this.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, you're going to forget the whole last year of your life, basically, blah, blah, blah. You're going to forget the coma. You're going to forget everything existed.
Mm-hmm.
And then it flashes to 9 years later.
Yeah. And we are at Grandma's funeral.
Yeah, I was like, who's dead? And then I was like, oh, shit, it's Lorraine.
Yeah, Lorraine is dead.
I liked her. She was one of my favorite characters.
I felt like a missed opportunity to have her die at some point in the middle of this film.
Yeah.
Maybe be a little more...
Raise the stakes a bit.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it... Or maybe her... how... Ooh, that's getting ahead, but... Later on, it seems like there might be some sort of sacrifice, but we don't get that sacrifice. You know what part? Yeah, it feels like maybe if we were to replace that moment earlier in the movie with a harrowing moment from Grandma putting her life on the line to save them, essentially maybe would have
somehow
been. And
her
then
being reunited with Dad.
Exactly, such a failed opportunity where she'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," and he was like,
"I failed you, sweetie. I failed you both.
It was a different time. Nobody could have understood."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyways, call us up. We'll write the movies for you yet again.
And so after the fact, though, you got to make it first, and then we're gonna watch it, and then we're just gonna
tell you what you did wrong,
make it better.
Yes.
And so we do have Dalton reading out of the Bible. I think is what it was. I don't know. It was so foreign to me.
Yeah.
It did not sound like a scripture.
It was definitely, I feel like, something I've heard before.
Okay.
But I don't know. If it was from the Bible.
It didn't give Bible verse, but it looked like he was holding up a Holy Bible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. This is also not
reading from something
religious podcast. So what do we know? And so we have
Dalton being moody AF.
For real, because what is it? Callie's like, I miss Grandma, and Mom is like, oh, Grandma misses you too. And he's just like, dead people don't miss anything.
Things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, Dalton. You were such a good little kid, and now you're like this. Come on.
And already off the bat as well, we can tell that Mom and Dad are no longer together.
Yeah, that threw me for a loop. I was like, wait, are they divorced?
Yeah.
And then, yep, they sure were, because they were like, oh, well, getting into the car, and everything. And he was like, thanks for organizing this. And
the conversation was very much like, we're not together, but you did something for me.
yeah.
And even, you know, mom suggesting you should drive Dalton to school next week. And he kind of seemed out of the loop, you know, which I'm sure he did know, but he also has all these other reasons why he's cloudy minded and a bit forgetful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he agrees. He's like, no, yeah, that sounds great. But I love how she also sees Carl and is like a bit like thrown off and is just like gets in the car and wants to leave.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to run into him.
It's like she's trying to change the subject real fast. And she hops in the car, but then Carl walks right past Josh. And Josh is like, excuse me.
I know you, sir.
Who are you? And grabs him and then is like, do I know you?
Yeah.
And
Carl's like, I knew your mother.
Yeah.
I was a friend of your mom's. And Josh is like, it's funny. Like, I feel like I should know you. Like, you look very familiar. And Carl says that line of like, well, death seems to bring back memories.
Death floods the mind with memory.
That's right. But it's always good to make new ones.
Yes. And then Dad gets in the car. They part ways. Dad gets in the car and he's sitting there texting Dalton, asking if he can drive him to school next week, and is sitting there looking at a little baby video of Dalton and stuff, being like, "Aw." And
which I didn't think was cute, because why the fuck are you trying to keep your baby in the same
a dirty diaper? Yeah.
But anyways,
you can see someone moving behind the car, getting closer and closer. And I'm assuming it was the dad.
I think it was the dad.
Yeah, because it was the same orange
silhouette color blurred out. And so, yeah, it's getting closer and closer. He's texting Dalton at this point, trying to be like, you know, hey, I want to take you to school. Dalton kind of reluctantly agrees, and that's whenever we have Dad looking up again and the figure behind him is gone. And we get a title card. And
I liked this title card much better than any of the other ones. It felt less forced. It was like, okay, and it felt again more mature. A matured version of this.
I feel that
franchise
had time to think on it.
Yeah, and they were like, oh, maybe we shouldn't go.
And then we get
balls to the wall.
And then we get the credits again. Like we got from the second one, very familiar.
And the drawings. We get to see the, I fell asleep and then I flew away. Last night I watched myself sleep and then I flew away. We see that, and then we watch Dalton's paintings and pictures mature over time to kind of show us some scenes and stuff from, and images rather, from the past two films. We get, we see him drawing the lipstick face demon again, the same little one that had his little boudoir,
whatever you call it, vanity,
and the record player. Yeah.
So all these callbacks that we get from the first and second, that's not like an exact like recap, but references to the things that we did see in those first two. And then we get a nice little lovely cut to Dad and Dalton in the car, and we're driving to school, and it's very awkward. And of course, as soon as Dalton puts in his headphones, that's whenever Dad wants to start talking to him. I hate when people start. It seems like that's what always happens. It's like I've not had my headphones in, and the moment that I do, like people want to start like
talking.
Yeah. And it's like, got my headphones on. But anyways, I digress. We're getting on our way to school. Dalton's pretty moody with Dad already, and even like walking into like whatever you call it, the courtyard of school, and like this dude is trying to pass Dalton like a flyer to a
Dalton's being moody towards everyone. Because like Mom texts him and stuff too, and it's like, how's it going? And he writes terrible, but then he deletes it and says fine. But then like once he gets there, the frat guy tries to hand him the poster or little flyer. And he's like, just walks right past him. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude.
You could have just said no thank you.
Yeah Don't have to be a dick about it.
And even the dad is like, oh,
Nick the dick, more like Dalton the dick.
Nick was just stupid.
Dickhead Dalton.
And I mean, I don't know, I guess
Nick was a dick too, though.
Rightfully so with Dalton, though. I guess you kind of grow up in a coma that you don't remember the whole year of, and then turns out you were actually getting chased by demons. But yeah, and then I guess.
Yeah, but he don't know that yet.
I guess, but I mean, I feel like the same like how dad had effects as him being now forgetful. Sorry for my
Dalton
throat.
had
Like moody effects. I don't know. Like he
Yeah.
was just pissed off, I guess.
didn't know why.
Yeah, exactly. And then
And he's a teenager.
it's true.
So I'm assuming he's what, 19 at this point?
Like 18, 19, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, no,
'cause
because when
he-
you first go to college, I mean, I was 17 whenever.
Well, he did
Senior
say,
year.
I don't remember anything from when I was 10.
Oh, that's true. So I guess he did miss a whole year of school. So he would be like 18, 19 right now.
Yeah,
going
I
to
think he'd be
college.
19.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So that makes
Since it said 9 years later.
And that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, you're right. Duh, I didn't even math. See, I'm so bad at math. And that was when he was 10. So yeah. So yeah, that makes sense. Damn, yeah. Poor homeboy was held back.
Yeah.
Because of that damn coma.
I'm glad he was in college because he looked a lot older.
He does
I was
look
like,
pretty
he
old.
looks old.
Mhm.
Looks like he
The
needs to be in
actor?
college. Like I
Yeah.
thought they were going to put him in high school at first. And I was like, no.
That would not make sense.
Yeah.
And so he ends up we're getting to the dorm room, we're getting things situated, he's picking a bed, dad's talking to him, kind of doing the regular. Dad's honestly, even for I guess being supposedly like drifted apart and being this divorcee dad, like seems like he's doing all the regular dad things, just making some dad jokes, trying to get you situated, trying to be helpful.
Yeah. I'm just trying to like, oh, I didn't make the wall.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
that is such a dad joke.
Yeah.
Like that would be such a
That's a very dad thing to say.
Yeah. Half jokingly, half like serious.
Like,
yeah.
oh, that hurts my feelings.
But I'm not gonna I'm gonna make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't actually confront our
and then
feelings.
especially here in a moment when he runs to that car, and I'm like, the way I've seen my dad do that walk before, like, yeah. But and so. We have the whole situation. It's a little bit tense between them. Dad didn't make the wall, so we have kind of this altercation between him and Dalton where there's some words being said. Like, Dalton's...
No wonder mom divorced you.
Yeah, and then dad's like, you're an ungrateful little shit. And so, yeah, it's pretty bad. And then, of course, we have Chris coming in, who we thought was going to be a guy, but is a girl. And so that kind of throws off the vibes for a whole second. But... we'll talk about Chris later more, I guess, when she comes into play. But I definitely thought she was a really cool, fun inclusion to.
Yeah, I thought this was a way to do the comedic aspect
so much better.
Well,
oh yes. yeah, way better, more natural, not forced, not cheesy.
Yeah,
like and a character that you actually start to care about, especially when things start happening to her. And I thought at one point, oh fuck, not. Poor Chris is gonna die. Why are they gonna kill her? That's what I literally thought later.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like she was gonna die.
Yeah. And so we end up, having this whole moment happening between son and dad, and then dad, is leaving because it's a little too tense for him, and he's like almost breaking down, which he does in the car a little bit. And also we have Dalton even having like this like silent mad cry situation happening in his bedroom. And we have
I couldn't believe the dad really was just gonna leave like that after saying all that. And then whenever he was running to the car, I was like, wait,
he's gonna go back,
not
right?
gonna go. Yeah, I was like, he's gonna go back
and fix this
and say I'm sorry. But nope, man just really gets in his car and then puts it in reverse. And I was like,
avoidant, remember? Caitlin?
Yeah,
the first movie, that's his whole personality. He's avoidant.
True.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus Christ, you're the adult here, sir.
And we have Chris coming back up, and Chris is getting to know Dalton just a little bit. And that's whenever, right? Yeah. Because they're getting to know each other. And that's whenever she's like, do you want to blow my hooter?
Yeah. And he was like, what
the fuck? Yeah. And they
because she had just taken off her bra too.
Yeah.
Like she just
random, just very comfortable. And it's funny how when she came up earlier too, and she was like, we're a liberal alt school, very heavy on the liberal. So she ends up basically, she's already like my type of person, cool vibes. Like she's like, so what's your weird shit?
Yeah,
like, we're all weird. Tell me what's weird about you. And he's like, you first. And what did she say first? She she puts a monocle on Sundays and orders takeout in a British accent.
Yeah. And he was like, that is weird. And he was like, sometimes I eat oatmeal dry, which we see dad do later.
Hella weird. Yeah,
that is weird.
I
would have been like, that is weird.
Like that's how do you even like get that down your throat?
I guess your saliva
it's so dry.
Makes it. I don't know. Yeah, it seems pretty
no
icky.
sugar, no nothing. Yeah. And so then we have her talking about how both of her parents died when she was 10 and she had to live with her grandma. And he's like, oh, I don't remember being 10 because I was in a fucking coma.
Yeah. And he was like, I
That
had
nobody wants to talk about.
viral meningitis or something. And yeah, no one will talk about it and stuff. And he doesn't remember anything. And then she is like, I could have used some meningitis.
I
That's
love how
what
she
she
said that
said.
too.
And I was like,
I could have
oh.
used some meningitis. Which
I was
guess
like, I don't
is
think
kind
you
of,
would want that.
I think it's comedy that comes from people though too, like who have been through shit. Because
Yeah.
anybody who's been through trauma, I feel like can make light of traumatic events.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah. I mean,
Well,
I
yeah,
guess
because she said her grandma almost died from
yeah.
a case of like something because
Yeah.
of her athlete's foot.
Mm-hmm.
Fucked with her brain.
And then I guess losing both your parents, I guess I'd probably want to forget that year too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have them then it's the next day and our dad is getting he's making a phone call to Dalton because I'm assuming it's the next day. Yeah, it has to be, right? Because it's daylight and we saw that it was nighttime for them because they went to bed, right?
Yeah.
Because that's whenever, my bad, he also has to tell her that he has
still
to sleep
needs
with
a
the
nightlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was like, they told me I have to stay here for tonight because
Mhm.
dad was like, let me go get this sorted out in housing. And she was like, you know what? Never mind. I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then
They have to
she
spend
comes
one night
back.
together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's like, we have to spend the night together. They said tough luck about today.
Tough
and
titties.
Then she starts turning out all the lights and he's like, I am afraid of the dark.
Mhm.
And I still need a nightlight. And so
Yeah.
he whips out his nightlight and she's like, are you serious? But whatever.
And it was kind of, and then also too, like, why would you have the scariest nightlight? It's like this scary green, like, color. Like,
Yeah,
anything that's not, like, just white or, like, a light cool blue, like, red, green, like, that just seems scary.
Yeah.
And so then we have the next day, dad is calling him, trying to basically apologize through a voicemail and saying, like, I don't know what's going on, but I'll figure it out. And then we have Dalton, which looked like he's late, but I guess he's not. He's running up to get to art class, and that's what
Trying not to be late.
Yeah, we get introduced to our Armistead or Arma tag or something like that, but
the art teacher.
Yeah, the art teacher, who is supposed to be like, he's super excited to work with her
because she's supposed to be the best.
Mm-hmm. For what we're paying.
Yeah,
such a dad
she
joke.
Better be.
And so you can already tell she's going to be intense. I mean, she's talking to this one student and she's like, rip that up, it looks too perfect, whatever. And he's like, I won't. And she's like, get out, casualty, you already failed. And he's like, I didn't fail. And she's like, yes you did, the moment that you decided
quit.
that you didn't want to rip this up. And she's basically saying is like, like, y'all can always improve, and once you think that you can't, then that's when you're not an artist anymore, essentially.
And also she says anyone fool can master a technique, but we're not here for technique. We need to try to do things, we need to break the rules.
So after we have our artist getting a bit demeaned, I feel like just a little bit, poor kid, and walking out, Dalton, who is on the other side of the room, gets his piece of artwork and just rips it in half. And it was his picture of grandma, who he said looked like she was hiding secrets. Which she was.
Yeah. She was having to keep lots of secrets.
Yeah. Kind of feels like mom was keeping secrets her whole life. Poor thing.
Yeah, for real.
Secrets eat away at people. Yeah. And so and it's funny because the professor then at that point is like, Dalton, why would you rip that beautiful picture up? And so he's just like, and then she's like, I think basically
once more for good measure.
Yeah, commends him, I guess, a little bit, kind of makes a little, makes it light, essentially. And then we move on to our task of the day, which is now, put your phones away, open your minds. And she basically says, I want you all to, and it's the choice of words, I want you all to sink further into yourselves and
bring forth your innermost thoughts.
Yeah, your memories, tap into your memories.
And basically hypnotizes them.
Yeah, because she starts counting back from 10 to 1.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And basically kind of the same process that like his dad went through whenever he was going into the further with the metronome and with the lease.
Mm-hmm.
And we have him starting to work on his artwork, and you can tell he's getting kind of very in the moment. And he's getting, I would say, kind of like already, it seems possessed in a way, the way he's making the door from memory and stuff. And then at that point, as we're getting deep into it, he starts to get visibly attacked by a hand that like pulls his hand in, and then it, I guess in a way scratched his palm.
Yeah, because then he starts bleeding,
and it gets it all on the painting as well.
Yeah, and she comes up and asks him as well during that, is it keeping you in or out the door? And he was like,
Yeah. And also too, like, does she not notice the blood that's like dripping, and the no red paint, only charcoal that's by him? But I don't know, because it was his blood, right?
Yeah,
like it wasn't red paint.
She might have asked him that before the blood happened.
Okay.
It might have been whenever he went back to it. Yeah.
But at the same time that happened, Dad wakes up. Like, I guess he's in a hotel, or no, that was his home. Was he at home?
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think he was at home.
Yeah, he just wakes up, and that's whenever we have Dad then visiting a sleep doctor, like a sleep study place, because he is getting put in a sleep machine.
Little MRI.
And that's whenever the doctor is explaining to him, like, you know, the process of what's about to happen. We're going to be out here. If you need anything, like, just let us know. And so Dad goes into the MRI machine, and you can already tell he's a bit anxious as well, though. And not even like a few seconds in, like, the machine turns off, and we start to see like him freaking out a little bit, and then some hands and like this body of a person starts appearing behind him where his head is.
Yeah, I really like this part. Whenever I thought it was pretty creepy.
Take it away.
How at the top of the machine, as he was already freaking out, and you know, like, it made me feel stressed out too with him whenever he was squeezing that ball that was supposed to help
and
notify them to let him out. Yeah, and as you can't really see the creature behind him, but you can see that there is something behind him, and reaching the hand down towards his shoulder, and then he starts tilting his head backwards to try and see behind him. But thankfully, he never sees anything, but it makes you hold your breath while you're waiting because you're expecting him to see something. And then he looks back down, and something's charging him. It was like this little demon,
like patient
of some sorts, thing coming up and being like,
which is pretty fucking scary.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy too.
Tell me, and imagine being in that situation and feeling it crawl over you.
Yeah, being trapped like that, it kind of plays on a claustrophobia level, and then lots of other things. It was just, it was just creepy. Yeah, and I really enjoyed this part. I thought it was good.
And then we get him freaking out, of course, and then he hops out of the machine, and that's whenever the doctor rushes in. Oh, well, also, I'm sorry, we were also getting on the, like, over the like a speaker, the doctor's voice, but it wasn't the doctor's voice being like, there's something with you, there's
something in there with you.
And then it also said the door is open or something like that. And then that's whenever he comes out freaking out, and the doctor's like, whoa, like, are you okay? And then he's like, Josh is trying to explain, like, there was something in here, like, what was that? And then the doctor's like, you were asleep for 15 minutes. All the lights
went out, like, what was happening? Like, I was panicking, attacked, squeezing the button thing, and no one came to help, and y'all just left me in there. And
the doc is like, no, we didn't, like, you were asleep.
You've been asleep 15 minutes.
And then that's whenever the doc gets to show him his basically the results, even though he was only in there for 15 minutes, but he was like, everything came out normal, like, you should be okay, like, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong. But he then starts to talk to him about, like, maybe you should check out, like, your family history. Maybe there is someone with a mental illness that might be the reason why you feel like you can't sleep, or what's plaguing you, what's keeping you up and affecting your memory. And the doctor suggests to him that he should play, like, kids games, memory games,
matching games. And he was like, you want me to play kids games? And he's like, we can learn a lot from kids.
And then that's whenever we cut back to Dotson being back in his dorm room with the artwork, and he once again starts to kind of, I feel like, be like entranced by this artwork, and he starts to smear the red from the blood that was on it, like
yeah, his
around.
somehow still wet blood
Yeah.
all over the door.
And it
I
makes,
was like, that's not super realistic, but that's okay.
but it's supernatural.
Yeah.
And that's whenever he starts to make it a little bit more red, so it's kind of coming together. I love how also like it doesn't start red, like it starts to get there gradually until at the end we have this like visibly red painted door.
Yeah.
But yeah, he ends up, I believe, sitting back down after it's on the wall, and that's whenever the lights go off in his room, right?
Yep. All the electricity goes out, and then
He freaks out.
He's freaking out, rightly so. And then he uses his little backup generator to power on one of the light bulbs, and it's got blood on it, though, which is making it illuminate the whole room red, and it illuminates the door and makes it look super red.
And that's whenever I think what gives Dalton the idea of like, oh, that should be red.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, this is all making sense now. And then he looks over and there's this bloody handprint on the sheet, just like in the first movie. And he's looking at it, and I love how he just gets like a piece of tissue
from his backpack that was just sitting there. Like, who has like some wadded up piece of tissue like that?
And then tries to scrub at the stain like a tissue's gonna do anything to blood.
Dry. And then like in the way you're supposed to blot, not like scrub blood in. Yeah.
I was like, and then he just takes the blanket and covers it up. I was like, she's gonna notice.
Yeah. And then as he turns around, he gets attacked by something in a sheet.
This sheet actually scared the shit out of me.
Did it?
It got me. Yeah. Whenever it raised up, I was like, damn it.
It happens really fast.
Yeah, it did.
And in the blink of an eye,
it was over. A good jump scare.
Because then he's just on the ground freaking out, and that's whenever Chris walks in. She's like, "You okay?" And then this
was when I wrote, she's good comedic relief.
Oh yeah, especially she's like, grabbing her stuff, I think, because she's getting ready to move into that other room, but then she's like, she finds that flyer, and she's like, well, you want to join a frat? And he's like, no, it's just something my dad did. And she's like, okay, let's go. And so they end up going to the party.
Yep.
We get obviously all the usual frat stuff. There's like some guys part of hazing, like passing out diaper pudding, and then we have Nick the Dick giving his like little speech that I love, that seems pretty relevant, that like people weren't being like yeah, like it feels very 2023, like people are like, okay dude, like
we get it.
People aren't, I don't feel like the I don't know, I guess I'm not in frats anymore, but I don't feel like it's all kind of the way it used to be, because I feel like there's some like type of woke now society where it's
there's definitely still hazing that goes on though.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, in the sense of like all the crowd goers that are at the party aren't like just eating the shit, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because he's definitely giving that whole like, or men could be men, and everybody's like, cough.
They're like, okay.
Yeah.
And
we have then the mention of an incident that apparently had happened the prior year before, which we will find out a little bit more of. But I love how Chris and Dalton are like, okay, this is lame. And so Chris is like, yeah, okay, let's go look through their shit then. So she ends up going upstairs, and they go trying to find a bedroom door that is open, which they eventually do. And it just happens to be Nick the Dick's room.
Yep, it's Nick's room. And she finds his, I'm assuming, hemorrhoid cream.
Yeah, it's butt
something.
Cream. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she goes and she's like, I'm going to go smear this all over the communal bathroom, and leaves Dalton alone in the room.
Yeah.
And then as he's in there, he starts hearing someone vomiting, and it was gross. Yeah. I was like, can we please stop the sound of this vomiting? It was starting to like get to me.
Pretty loud.
Yeah. Because you could hear like the chunks falling in and stuff. And I was like, ugh.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
I love smoothies, but I don't love smoothie bar prices. With my BlendJet 2 portable blender, I can make smoothie bar quality beverages for a fraction of the price.
BlendJet 2 is portable, so you can blend up a smoothie at work, a protein shake at the gym, or even a margarita on the beach.
Yum.
It's small enough to fit in a cup holder, but powerful enough to blast through tough ingredients like ice and frozen fruit with ease. BlendJet 2 is whisper quiet, so you can make your morning smoothie without waking up the whole house. Lasts for 15 plus blends and recharges quickly via USB-C. Best of all, BlendJet 2 cleans itself. Just blend water with a drop of soap and you're good to go.
I do love that feature about it. It is rather nice.
It does, and
Yeah.
it stays pretty quiet.
What color did you get?
I got black because it matches the color of my soul.
Perfect. I got pink because if my whole life could be pink, it would be.
We love pink.
It matches my water bottle perfectly.
It sure does.
Yeah. So whenever I carry both, I feel very aesthetic. I'm
That's
like,
nice.
yay, got me a nice pink BlendJet 2, looking real cute. And it's real yummy with my good smoothie in it. So what are you waiting for? Go to blendjet.com and grab yours today. And be sure to use promo code
Boo12.
to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. No other portable blender on the market comes close to the quality, power, and innovation of the BlendJet 2. They guarantee you'll love it or your money back. Blend anytime, anywhere with the BlendJet 2 portable blender. Go to blendjet.com and use the code
Boo12.
to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping.
Shop today and get the best deal ever.
Did you know you could be putting oil and chemicals in your coffee? I love coffee creamer, but I don't think I've ever turned the bottle around to actually see what's inside. When I did, I found out many of my favorite creamers contain ingredients I would never intentionally add to my coffee cup, like canola oil, dipotassium phosphate, ew, and artificial flavors. Laird Superfood all started when big wave surfer Laird Hamilton needed morning fuel that could allow him to spend the entire day chasing the ultimate wave. He couldn't find anything in the market that met his ingredient standards, so made himself the ultimate plant-based creamer. Laird Superfood started and launched its first product, Original Superfood Creamer, in 2015. Laird Superfoods contain no artificial flavors, colors, or additives, and no sugars from highly refined corn syrup. All Laird products are sustainably sourced and thoroughly tested to ensure that you're incorporating the cleanest, finest fuel into your routine. All Laird products are also made of all-natural whole food ingredients, and they are crafted from the highest quality all-natural real food ingredients. Are you ready to feel more energized, focused, and supported? Go to lairdsuperfood.com and add nourishing plant-based foods to fuel you from sunrise to sunset. Use our promo code BOO at checkout to save 15% off your purchase today. Are you tired of the same old boring puzzles? Mix things up with Wongo puzzles. Each puzzle is a custom design with intricate patterns and whimsical shapes that will keep you engaged for hours. Plus, their eco-friendly materials and commitment to sustainability make Wongo puzzles a guilt-free way to unwind. Wongo puzzles are 100% wooden puzzles, meaning they'll last forever. Each piece is hand-drawn, so no two pieces are the same, and you'll discover some fun, whimsy pieces as you work through it. They come in a custom wooden box, which is perfect for storage and gifting. With stunning design and unique shapes, Wongo puzzles are a cut above the rest. So what are you waiting for? Go to wongopuzzles.com and pick your puzzle today. And be sure to use the promo code BOO and get 10% off of your order. This is the most fun you've had with the puzzle, guaranteed, or your money back. Go to Wongo, WONGO, puzzles.com and use the code BOO to get 10% off your order and get puzzling right now. Wongo.
Did you know that dehydration is the leading cause of daytime fatigue? I was shocked to learn that even mild dehydration can cause headaches, muscle weakness, and brain fog. But luckily, there's a solution. Cure! Cure Hydration is an oral rehydration solution that contains the perfect balance of electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb water and rehydrate quickly. The formula is made with all natural ingredients like coconut water, powder, and pink Himalayan salt, and is free from artificial flavors, sweeteners, and preservatives. Cure Hydration is vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO, making it a great option for anyone with dietary restrictions or preferences. The packets are convenient and easy to use. Just mix with water and drink. They're perfect for on the go, travel, or anytime you need a quick and effective hydration boost. Hydration is more than just drinking water. That's what Lauren Picasso, a lifelong endurance athlete, discovered as she struggled to stay hydrated no matter how much water she drank. Lauren founded Cure, a science-backed electrolyte drink mix to make hydrating easy for everyone. Cure believes that hydration should be simple and effective, but also clean and natural. That's why they use only the highest quality plant-based ingredients and avoid any artificial or harmful additives. They're committed to transparency and honesty. All of their ingredients are clearly listed on their website and packaging, and they're always happy to answer any questions or concerns. Ready to combat dehydration? Try Cure today and feel the difference for yourself. Use code BOO for 20% off your order.
Dalton's such a nice person, man. He's like, hey, bro, you okay? Do you need some water? Or like, what's up? And then very quickly we understand that this is not a live person.
Human being.
This is a ghost because his face is all nasty and like he's got barf all over him. He looks dead.
His
and
eyes are like the same color as his skin,
Yeah.
and stuff. He's just very gray and pallid, and
he's crying like, make it stop. And then as he's walking closer towards Dalton, he's yelling at Dalton to close the door. which could mean close the door, but later on we kind of find out is more of a deeper meaning to it. And
to
then
close the red door.
Yeah, as Chris comes back in and she's like, whoa, because oh no, I'm sorry. Nick comes into the room first. And that's whenever Dalton goes to hide under the bed. But whenever he does that and Nick goes and leaves, gets his condoms or whatever, we have Dalton being, I don't want to say attacked, but like, I mean, getting scared and spooked by that vomiting ghost because he's like, it was really creepy the way the ghost like popped up and started like
the bed, and
looking, bending over, and then when Dalton tries to leave because he thinks like the ghost is going to come under the bed, the ghost is on top of the bed and then just vomits all over Dalton.
Yeah, that was pretty creepy.
And this is when Chris comes in and she's like, "Whoa, are you okay?" And then Nick comes back and Chris and Dalton have to pretend like they were kissing and like about to do it so that way they can leave. And then Nick's just a complete asshole to Chris after this.
Yeah, calls her a clown and stuff like that.
And like, yeah, was basically insinuating that she wasn't attractive, and Chris was very attractive.
Yeah, she was. She was pretty.
Very pretty girl. But
But then they get back to his room, basically, and he falls asleep at his desk while he's working on some artwork, and then he wakes up in the further. And he like wakes up, there's this lantern there and stuff. And he gets up and doesn't really question it at all and starts exploring the further.
Seems familiar, like in a way.
Yeah. Like he's like, I've been here before. Let me do this again. But doesn't know to be afraid of it.
Yeah. Just like when he was a kid. Like remember Elise was like, he thinks they're dreams, so he's not afraid of where he's going.
Yeah.
And so.
Exactly. And so that's what he does. And he gets up, he goes up the stairs. He goes up to room 323, which is where we figure out that Chris lives now, which is right above him. And he's kind of watching Chris sleep, which was a little creepy. But then starts playing her, what is it called?
Her Hooter.
And
plays the same song that his mom wrote and that he introduced her to earlier. So there would be only one person who knows to play that song.
Yeah.
And so she's very like, what? I love whenever he like first wakes her up and she like wakes up and she says something funny. I do not remember what it was.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
But it was
either.
funny to me. And so it's given me that Vine energy of like when they pour water in her face and she's like, hello. And so after he plays the Hooter and she like freaks out, she turns the light on, he like drops the Hooter and like runs back to his room. And it's funny though, or not funny though, it's actually pretty scary because on his way back to his room, you can tell that something's kind of behind him maybe. And then right when he gets to the door, you see like
little tail and like spindly
on all
body.
fours. Yeah.
On all fours. Yeah. Crawling
towards him,
behind him, which was pretty creepy. And he wakes up, he gets back into his body just in time for Chris to barge into his room being like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Were you just like creeping on me? Like, what are you doing?
You watching me sleep? And he was like, I feel like I'm getting like something else is happening. And he's like, I'm not a creep. And he says like, feel like I'm getting closer to something or something is getting closer to me. And kind of explaining that something weird is happening here that is a little bit different than he was like, I was asleep basically. And I woke up and there was this lantern and I just went to your room and I played the harmonica chord thingy. And then you woke up and I got spooked and went back to my room. And then now you're here. Yeah. Kind of thing.
Which is all not pretty normal things for the everyday person. And so she's obviously kind of like, oh, that's weird. But I love how she doesn't like immediate like, she's like, okay. She's like, cool. But then we have cutting to, I guess, the morning time and Josh is waking up. And
he's eating his dry oatmeal.
This is whenever he had walked downstairs and we got a really good visual of a door being closed. And then whenever he comes back up, the door's open and it's mom's room. And he's kind of taking a look in there. So kind of just adding to more of his layer of his character arc. And then we have him being downstairs. Dalton texts him back and be like, I went to the party. He was like, it was lame. And then that's whenever he starts playing the memory game on the wall, on the window, should say. Which is like, what is that? What is that? Like flash card? Is it just called memory game? Or?
Yeah, it was just kind of like, they were
match.
Yeah, he was matching things.
Yeah.
They were like giant flashcards
Yeah.
that he was matching together, and he was trying to remember the patterns and whenever he found the same of someone, he was supposed to match it to one that he already came across.
Yeah.
But he was not doing too well.
Not at
this
all.
memory game.
Couldn't even get one.
Yeah.
Even if he just saw it. Like, that sucks.
Yeah. I think he had seen Dalton like 2 before.
Yeah.
And then still couldn't remember which one.
Or I think even when he saw his mom, like he had just seen his mom and saw a different one and then saw his mom again and he couldn't go back
He
to
almost had it,
Yeah.
but
he doubted himself.
yeah.
And
then
at the same time.
yeah, we get somebody standing in the window at that same orange silhouette. And I was like, so I think this is the same person from behind the vehicle, which we don't know who this person is yet. But we see this person standing there and they're getting closer each time that he like moves the little cards out of the way. We see this person getting closer and closer until suddenly they just break through the glass.
It's really loud. It's really like wham, because I break through and it freaks Josh out, rightfully so. And then as he's like trying to look back to see where they are, they're right in front of him. And then they start to like chase after him. And so he has to go all the way upstairs and then get to his mother's bedroom. And when he's in there, that was me.
I was like,
My bad. And the way he goes back to his mother's bedroom and then he ends up getting kind of in the further. It's like he's in the further for a moment, but then not because the dude pushes him into it, I guess, right?
Yeah, he pushes him into the back of the closet wall, renders him unconscious, and I would say he goes into the further for half a second.
Yeah.
And finds this box of pictures, and then whenever he comes back to, he's like back
to be there
in the real world, and they're there, and basically does he look through the photos now?
Yeah, he starts to look through it and he's
then
like, what?
That's when you can put together that the person he just saw was his dad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, Dad's being awful violent for his first reunited with his son.
Yeah.
In a while, but
you had to get his attention.
Yeah.
We're back with Dalton in art class, and that's whenever he starts to work more on his artwork, I believe. And I think this is a
sends him into the darkness of memory again.
That's right. And he gets a flashback. And this is whenever he starts to remember and think back on like that time that his dad basically tried to kill them.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Dad. Yeah, this is where it's like he's looking through the box of things. And then we also cut to Dalton calling Foster, and he's asking him, hey, like, did anything about my coma, like, can you remember anything about it, basically? And Foster doesn't even give him anything. He's like, you should talk to Mom. And also, is this what happens when you go to college? Like, you get cryptic. I don't want to go, and just hangs up. And that's whenever we go back to Dalton talking to Chris about astral projection, because she comes into the room.
Yeah, and she brings Specs and Tucker back.
And Elise, yeah.
And Elise. And I was like, Elise only has one outfit, apparently.
Yeah, that blue outfit.
Yeah, it's the only thing she wears.
Mm-hmm. And
the costume department.
I thought it was pretty cool, though, for them bringing them back in a way.
I thought it was a good modern way to bring him back.
Yeah. And then Dalton is basically telling Chris, like, I need to find out more information from that ghost that I saw, so we need to go back to the frat house. Which also to me was kind of like, why would you, couldn't you just fall asleep in your bedroom and then, like, in the further go to the frat house? You know what I mean?
He's probably trying to minimize how long he was away from his body.
It's true.
But you can tell also whenever he's watching the video of Elise, and she says her famous "keep a steady stride," that he recognizes her, because one of the pictures that we saw that he had drawn at the beginning was Elise.
Yeah.
And so you're like, he has this flicker of recognition that comes across his face. And then he goes back to the frat house to talk to Pukey Boy,
which they find a bedroom for him to sleep in, which is once again, like, really, what's the word, it seems like they're putting themselves in a lot of danger, to BH, because, like, they're going to the frat house, just going into someone's room that they don't know and, like, trying to fall asleep. But anyways, and also they're messing with spirits. But yes, they find a room. She's like, okay, I'll watch over your body. He ends up able to fall asleep, like, in less than 10 seconds. And then That's whenever he starts to make his way to Nick the Dick's room. But as he's over there, we kind of sense that something else knows that they are doing this and is at the same time like going after them. So after he goes to Nick's bedroom, which the plan is not going that great because like Nick is there, and then like we have these. This is kind of the one part where I was like, this has nothing to do with it, but okay, because Nick then has like to use the restroom, and then like the whole interaction with the girl, but then we have him only leaving that situation because Chris starts to call out for him because she feels a presence, and rightfully so. She starts to get attacked, and then that's whenever he feels and senses that she's in danger, so he starts running back to his body. But before he can get back there, like something attacks him through the wall and is yelling at him to close the door. Close the
door, yeah. And lipstick demon's choking Chris, and
oh yeah, because that's whenever he goes into the room and he gets that like nice. We get that shot of him seeing it, and he's like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
And then Nick the Dick is even in there too, trying to help Chris at this point.
Yeah, and he's just like, "What the fuck is going on?" And like, "What is it with you two being in this house when you're not supposed to be?" But yeah, and then what happens?
That's after that we start to go to we cut to Josh,
right?
Yeah, because he's at it's like a library or something. He's looking up information on his dad and some public records.
Yeah, and so basically. It is his dad who attacked him, and apparently he had schizophrenia, and he's like just figuring out all this information about his dad, and then he goes to talk with Renee about what happened and is explaining to her basically that it like he's ending up being like his dad, being absent, and she's trying to explain to him like you're nothing like him, blah blah blah. And how, his dad jumped to his death 40 years ago or something because he had schizophrenia and was also like...
He was an astral projector.
Yeah, and there was a note that said, "This ends with me," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was the last note that his mom had from him. And no one really knew what it meant. Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah.
I think because his dad obviously had this power of astral projection, and his dad obviously at that point, he's got to be the same age that his dad was essentially when he took his life. But at that point, his dad hadn't had his memories suppressed for all those years, so he'd literally been living with that gift for 40 something years, like untamed, and like probably drove him mad at that point. And so
he probably manifested as or seemed as if it was schizophrenia, but really people just couldn't put a name on it.
And then he obviously thought that if he killed himself that it would all stop there and it would stop affecting their family, but unfortunately for him it is not the case, and he ended up just killing himself and causing more hurt in the family. But anyways, we do have at the same time that this is happening, he's talking to Renee. Dalton calls Foster, and he brings up the hammer, and this like what's the word, unearths a memory with Foster where he's like, wait, hammer, I have this reoccurring nightmare that dad essentially tried to attack us with a hammer, but mom has always told me that wasn't real and it was a dream that I made up. And
all the while he had been painting this picture with another red door and with somebody in the foreground, and at first I thought it was the licking demon that ghost. I thought that's who it was, like,
because it had the same silhouette.
And since Josh like interacted with that demon right before going into the red door whenever he was originally trying to find Dalton and stuff, I thought it was that demon. And then this is where Dalton realizes, because he's all of a sudden realizes that he's painted his father in this picture, and it's his father that's holding the hammer, not someone else.
And I think definitely probably what added to because he also paints it in a way, like it paints his father in the most monsterish kind of way that he could see him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not even just him holding the hammer, it's like the act of like him like, and his face
swinging,
and it looks even more like, it looks like a possessed version of his father, you know, if that makes sense, because even the eyes are a little like bolt or whatever the word is.
Well, and it's only half the face, the other half is like still unformed / looks like it's blurred and hazed by memory and stuff. And so it's still like on its way to taking shape.
And then that's whenever Josh and Renee are still having that heated conversation, and she basically at that point is like, okay, like I gotta tell you everything, like you're not a bad dad, like this is what happened.
The kids associate their pain with you, which is why, like, she's like, I've lied to the kids for years, but basically this is what happened and we can't change it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and she's like, you know, I've had to live with like basically keeping this all hush hush, and that's such a burden to carry. I couldn't live like that anymore. And then unfortunately for you, the, you know, after effects of making you forget made you hazy and made you distant even more so than you were already. And then I love how he's just mad, and I love how she's like, no, hold up though, because you agreed, you thought this was the best idea too.
Yeah, and we all agreed. Dalton agreed, you agreed, we all agreed,
and
that this was the best idea.
And so then as that argument is happening, Foster ends up coming in with the picture that was sent to him from Dalton being like, hey, Dad, like, was this you? Like, what's going on? And I love how Josh is like, what did we do to Renee? And I love how Renee looks over at the metronome sitting on top of the piano. It's a very big callback to like, and I love that Renee was literally like, one day I might need this again.
Yeah.
Like,
and so we're going to keep it.
Yeah.
And while all this is happening, Dalton ends up falling asleep in his room and is kind of transported back to the basement. And he's watching everything happen all again, the whole attack with Josh attacking the family and watching his mom hide Foster and watching him go crawl underneath there to go go to sleep and stuff. And basically he's watching it all happen. Dad's got the hammer right above Dalton, and Dalton stops him from the future and then gets like he tackles his dad right as when
the Black Bride's body was getting sent out of, the soul was getting sent out of his body.
Yeah,
basically
when Elise was
killed the lady,
killing the mom of death, the mother of death.
Yeah.
Back. So it was all like all these things happened at once to help save Josh, basically.
Yeah.
And but then as soon as Dalton stops him from the future, he then gets like kind of sucked into the demon's lair. And I think the lipstick demon looks better this time. He looks less like Darth Maul. In my opinion,
they used like more black paint on his face.
It was more black instead of red.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like as bright of a red. It was a
bloody-ish red,
blood red. Which looked less like Darth Maul.
Yeah,
and it was pretty creepy how he was like ripping his skin, ripping at his flesh and stuff, like with his talons, and like kind of it looked almost as if he was like pulling gloves on, but he was just scraping at his flesh and stuff, and like scraping at his face, making it all bloodied and extra creepy looking. But yeah, I thought Lipstick Demon looked better this time.
Good.
Less like Darth Maul, so it didn't bother. And I liked how his face was shown essentially twice very quickly. Once when he was attacking Chris. And then once now.
Yeah.
And then really that's all you see of him.
And then at the end.
I appreciate,
the hole in the door. But not even then, because it's like a second.
Yeah. I appreciate the lack of him this go around.
But then as all that's happening, and since Dalton's down there in the lair, and I love how even Dalton gets like this, like, we see that lipstick face. Excuse me. Oh, okay. I couldn't fight that one. My bad, you guys. That was the lipstick face.
We have a sneeze at however many minutes in. At 1:23.
Yeah. As I love how Lipstick Face has basically been obsessed with him, because he built like basically all these like homages to him, like all the memories of like, you know, when he fell off the ladder, and then when he got rescued by his dad, and then just all these different things.
Different
his sick bed, like whenever he was in the coma.
Yeah, all these different little like miniatures, but they weren't miniatures, they were life size with like little art mannequin kind of things, portraying all of Dalton's life, and that year of Dalton's life that he'd forgotten. So I think it was kind of a way to jar his memory more too, and help him remember what in the hell was going on during that time. And it was a good way to quickly retell the story from the first film, basically,
in
like
a creative way.
Yeah,
that adds to the plot. And also because I do feel like Lipstick Demon has been obsessed with him ever since, and has like been literally waiting for the moment to like come back and get him.
Yeah.
because he feels like you were my captive, and then like you got away from me. But at that point, with that happening, we come back to the real world, and Dalton comes too, but it is no longer Dalton. That is lipstick face demon possessing his body.
I was like, this doesn't feel like Dalton.
Yeah.
Whenever Chris came in and was talking to him and he wasn't responding.
Yeah.
And then especially once he like
when she's plugging in those lights.
Yeah, and then his face was pretty silly looking.
Yeah.
In that like third flash or whatever. And then
but I like how they didn't keep it like that, because then when he's in the corner and he turns around, it's just basically the eyes, and that looked more scary than what was happening.
Exactly.
And so we're in there. Chris is with Dalton, but she's kind of realizing, this is not Dalton. And he just like,
because she turns around and he's gone, and it takes her a second to find him standing in the corner.
Well, she even looks around in that corner and he's not there.
Yeah.
And then he magically appears there. And then he like flings her across the room. Poor Chris.
And she's like, if you fucking touch me again,
I
will end you.
And then that's whenever we have Josh going into the further, because he's like, gotta do this again. I gotta go save Dalton, because Dalton, unfortunately, is once again trapped in the layer of lipstick demon. We can see that he is in this like cell made out of chairs turned on upside down on themselves and everything, and he's shackled to it. And then that's whenever we have Dad finds him. We don't get a lot of like how the first one, like, right? Oh, because we do. He's in the darkness, and then Dad ends up running into
his past self with
Dalton.
Yeah.
And that's how he knows how, I guess, to find the old layer that Dalton was in. And then we get Dalton, who is shackled up, getting pulled by his dad. And then even at that point, I think Dalton is very much like, because all he has is that recent memory of his dad and that flashback chasing after him, and he's like basically fearful of him. But Josh is like we've got to go, like, I'm here to help you, like, that wasn't me that chased you, I was being possessed, and now the same thing is happening to you, and if we don't go, he's gonna hurt people. And
all the while he's getting him and they're trying to escape back in the real world, Chris has Dalton's body, who's now rendered unconscious. And all of a sudden these ghosties start coming out of the corner. She looks under one bed for some reason, to click on the lights, and then the lights go off underneath the second bed under Dalton's bed. And she clicks him back on, and there's this demon looking person that's there, and it honestly looked like Nick with his face mask on. It did. I was like, is this Nick with his face mask?
Well, because I'm assuming these are maybe, because they're in a college campus, these are students that have passed away on campus, because then we get this like acrobatic cheerleader looking girl coming out of like a drawer, and then it's a horde of a whole bunch of like ghosts coming around them,
and they're all trying to get at Dalton's body. And then while they're doing that, basically the ghosts are coming out. We flash back to Dad and Dalton escaping through the red door, and the dad is holding the door, and he's like, Dalton, help me hold this. And Dalton's like, no. Basically.
He's like, we don't have time, and we can't hold it back. We just have to keep going.
to go.
Yeah.
And Dad's like, no, I'm basically, it looks like he's going to sacrifice himself to hold the door closed.
Yeah.
And he says the same thing his father said, and he says, this ends with me. And we even get the dad's heartbeat stopping.
Yeah.
Doesn't this look like a worm?
It does look like a worm, like a Alaskan, like an Alaskan something woolworm.
If Patrick was long and tall, kind of looks like Patrick too.
It does. And so we have all of that happening, and then thankfully, just in the nick of time, Dalton ends up getting to the real world in his body and is able to start painting on the door that he had drawn, essentially. And it's kind of like the physical world meets the spiritual world, like it's all connected. And so as he's painting this black paint over the door to cover it up, it's bleeding into the further and covering up the red door that Josh is holding on to.
Yeah, at first I thought it was blood. I was like, blood dripping on the door, and then I was like, oh wait, JK, it's paint, and
It's
Dalton is like literally painting the door shut.
To physically and metaphysically shut it. Yes. And then as all that's happening, the demon is able to last minute like punch through the door, and then it's like grabbing onto Josh, and we're thinking like, oh my God, this is it. But thankfully, because it's getting covered up, the demon gives one last look through the door, through the hole with his face, and then it all gets covered up. And at that point, Josh is able to get back to his body.
Now it's a belly button.
But it does. Oh, that looks kind of gross. And then at that point, because he's walking back, and he ends up meeting his father, and his father is able to kind of they don't even speak. They say no fucking words to each other, but there's just like resolution,
like a little bit of closure.
Yeah, closure to like knowing, like at least Josh knows, like he can empathize, and he'd be like, okay, like you didn't really want to leave me. You thought you were saving me. And I think it's a good moment for Josh as a dad too, to realize like they can only do so much. It does very much look like an anus. And so at that point, everything seems to be hunky-dory. Everything seems to be fine. The families are good. We call Josh. He's good. And at this point...
and I guess, does the dad cross over to the other... there's like a bright flash of light.
It gives very much like his unfinished business was done and taken care of. And so it seemed very much like the dad even was at peace. And everything seems to be okay. The next day we have... dad is leaving, and we have mom being like, hey, we'll see you next Friday for, come pick up Foster, but why don't you come to dinner a little earlier? It kind of seems like maybe since they figured this shit out, maybe there could be some reconciliation between the parents, because it doesn't even seem like maybe the love was lost. It was just like there's a bunch of heavy shit in between them. That's a lot to cut through.
And it seems like Josh definitely still loved Renee.
Oh yeah, he just was battling all those demons that unfortunately kind of wasn't even his fault,
because at one point he was like, we could have fought through this together. Mm-hmm. Like we could have done this together if you would have just like told me, basically. And then he gets out to his car, and Elise is somehow now in the real world. And then I was like, unless he's still in the further, because she told him to keep a steady stride. Which I was like, that would be fun if he came out and was still like in the further, but he's dead and he's dreaming all of this. And because then I was like, if he was dead, then he would be able to see Elise. I don't know, but maybe
it's the way that she said, you'll have a bright future.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It definitely gives.
To be in the further.
It definitely gives that there's a lot of possibilities and like stuff for the story to go to.
Yeah.
Afterwards, but yes, he talks to her, and then she ends up fading away because she was a damn ghost. And then we have Dalton putting up a painting, and finally Dad made the wall.
Yeah, Dad comes in and he's like, wow, I made the wall. I was like, what does this note mean? I forgot what happened. All I wrote was, wow, I made the wall.
Yeah.
And was like,
because Dalton painted a picture of whenever Dad had saved him from the further at the end of the first movie, which is kind of a sweet, father son carrying him out,
carrying Dalton with the little lantern and everything.
And then we have the end of the movie.
And that's everything's all of it
fixed and nice and great. At the end of the post credits, there is a scene though. It's like 2 seconds. But
I didn't get to it.
It's right at the very end, and I didn't know the first time I watched it. I only found it out because I googled it, or I saw it on Google. On something when I was looking more information up about the movie. And yeah, it's basically remember how there was the red door and there was the light on top of it. There was a light like shining down. It comes back on and it's like flickers. That's all. So it basically kind of gives like, oh, it's not done yet.
Wow, it got 38% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Jeez.
And a 5.5 on IMDb.
Poor thing.
Yeah, not very good.
No. I didn't think it was that bad.
I didn't think it was that bad either.
Yeah. If anything, I thought it was really good, especially for
I thought it was a good
tying in all these stories together.
Mature version.
Yeah. And so we that's pretty much it. That's it on Insidious, The Red Door, the closing chapter 1 and 2 of Insidious. Do you have any fun facts for us?
Yes, I do. The song featured in the end credits is called Stay, and it's performed by Ghost featuring Patrick Wilson. And it's a cover song originally from the band Shakespeare's Sister. The college featured in the film is named after Jane Pierce, who is one of the former first ladies during Franklin Pierce's term. She was an occultist who would hold seances in the White House to communicate with her dead son.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Dagmara Dominics, who has a role in the film, is married to the film star and director Patrick Wilson. I'll have to click on the name to see who that is. And then in each scene, rather than each frame, there is something red. The use of a red thing is subtle and purposeful. So there's red. There was a lot of red in the film.
Yeah.
You could tell. I wonder who. I don't remember seeing her.
Yeah, the wife. I'm looking and I don't remember seeing her at what part at all.
Oh, she's the. It says priest voice.
I don't remember there even being a fucking priest in the movie.
Me neither.
She was in the Count of Monte Cristo. I do not remember this one. Anyways, yeah, I digress.
Anyways, what would you rate this film?
4.5, a 3.8. I would rate this a 4. I'll just do a 4. Solid 4. It's a little bit less for chapter 2 for me, but in terms of like the storyline, I thought it was really cool, and I thought they did a really good way as well as like making it modern, essentially, even though it's Jesus, now it's Patrick Star. It's someone doing ballet, the way they're like whoosh. I think that they did a really good job trying to control and move the story in a way that's like they didn't go too far, but then they stayed right in the parameters, but they gave me a little bit more. We got some new characters. It was really cool to see all of the returning cast, to see Dalton grown up, to see even Rose Byrne have more, like, I loved how when we saw when the flashback when they were in the basement and she was talking to Dalton, I was like, wow, you can actually see like the natural aging on like her as a mom. Like it just seemed also real and natural, if that makes sense. Like, yeah.
I thought she looked the exact same.
For the most part. I'm not saying she looked like trash. I'm just saying you could definitely tell she looked a little older.
Yeah, no, she looked good.
Yeah, and she obviously looks good for her age. And then she also, I feel like, had less of a storyline in this movie, but still somehow managed to like hold her own spot as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I especially love the fact that like Mom's always coming through. The way she had that backup generator for Dalton.
I know, so sweet. Moms think of everything.
They literally do. And then I really like the whole bringing Josh's dad into it and seeing how like this has been like a family thing, like lineage wise, like all of the fetus. It looks like aliens, like the little alien from Aliens and the sack, the face huggers. And so, yeah, what do you think?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if I liked this film more or less than the second one.
Or maybe equal.
Maybe equal, yeah. It, again, felt like a really good middle of the, like, run horror film to me. It was, overall, I think, a pretty decent film. I think maybe I liked the complexity of the story from the second one more. This one felt like it added a little bit more of resolution to things and, like, tied up some, like, loose ends and stuff, which was nice. But again, there wasn't a whole lot of story other than like plot, other than them just like trying to beat this demon. And again, the lipstick demon wasn't hard to fight off.
No, not at all.
So there was nothing really, there were no stakes. But I thought overall that the music choices were a lot better. Not as on the nose. And I thought that I liked all the red imagery and everything that was in each like frame or whatever scene they said.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. I think it was a pretty good third third movie to the film. I haven't seen, well, apparently I've seen part of
One of, we don't know which one.
which one. Yeah, but
It's a 50-50.
it seems like a pretty good movie to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't hate it. So
It's coming far from the first one. So
yes. Yeah. Like, I mean, honestly, they did a much better job on the second and the first one. The first one was just so hard for me to get through. And I just could not get past Lipstick Face Demon. And in this one, they did a much better job. If Lipstick Face Demon would have looked like this and had less screen time, as he did in this film, I think I would have enjoyed it much more. But they just showed his face so many times, and his face was just so bright red, like candy apple red instead of blood red.
I think this one they did a better job of making him seem a little bit more menacing.
Yeah.
Like not showing his feet was probably like a good choice too, because that made it seem a little bit more comical.
Yeah.
I feel like as well, this one we basically just kind of got like a silhouette-ish, like with him in that tail chasing after Dalton, and then just the Chris moment and then the end moment. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then when he comes and he's like makes himself present to dad, but that's it. Yeah. But yeah. Oh,
and I liked his like ripping at his flesh too. I thought that was pretty good. I think I did still like the second one more. I gave that a 3.5, right? I think I'll give this one a 3.2. Yeah, what my original one was for the. It's a good middle of the road horror film. Good middle of the pack. It wasn't my favorite thing I've ever seen, but I definitely don't feel like I'm less of a person for watching it. It was good. It was good. I'd recommend it to people. And I never thought I'd say those words. I liked the second one a good amount.
Yeah.
Second one was pretty good.
And I even feel like, honestly, if you were to watch the third one without necessarily even watching the first or second one, you'd still be in good shape.
Yeah, really.
They do a pretty good job of kind of connecting some moments for you, and then in its own story as well. So you don't have to necessarily watch those other ones. But it does add to it, I feel like, obviously. But yes, that is our take on Insidious Chapter 3, but not 3, The Red Door.
The Red Door.
Sorry if we sound a little bit haggard at this point. We did 2 shows today, back to back. So we're coming right at the end of our wits here. But once again, as always, we're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studio.
That's right. They take great care of us.
Really good care of us. You can listen to our show and many other shows on roguemedianetwork.com.
Or you can listen to us and all those other amazing podcasts on a slew of podcasting platforms, the biggest 2 being
Spotify
and also Apple. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that's the only way we can get ahead in this world. And word of mouth, tell your friends, tell everyone. And then get ready, because next week starts our kickoff of spooky season, right? This one will come out at the end of September.
Yeah.
So we'll start our spooky season back to back, 2 episodes a week. And we'll figure out with some listener requests in there, and we'll get that scheduled to you so that way you can watch along with us and let us know your thoughts on any of the films that we're going to cover. So if you want to do that and let us know, and if you want to see what we are going to cover, we will post that on our Instagram, and that is at
BooBaes Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES, because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes. And until next time, you guys.
Until next time. Bye, babes.
Bye, babes.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.